The real week one of the NFL season, NFL preseason, is kicking off here this weekend. I can't speak this morning. The real week one of the NFL preseason is kicking off this weekend. And as we know from the Hall of Fame game, players are going to rise. Keandre Lambert-Smith, Isaac Tesla, these guys will rise with some impactful performances in a preseason game. Even just one good play might skyrocket somebody up the boards. Who are we looking to draft right now before that inevitable hype comes during the preseason this weekend? That's what we're going to talk about today and draft a couple of best Ball Mania teams. Let's do it. Good morning for best ball. Cannot speak this morning, which is a good way to kick off a show talking about some players that you really need to be drafting right now. Ben, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Plan for today. We're going to draft a couple of best ball mania teams. I'm going to talk about a handful of guys. Some of these guys we've already discussed. You've heard me talk about it maybe on a show before. You've heard other Spike Weekers maybe talk about them in the Discord. You've read me write about some of these players, but I also think it's important to reiterate them. As you guys saw in the Hall of Fame game last week, it's kind of insane. That game is a little bit peculiar in that normally in the standalone game, we're not getting notable players like in the actual draft pool playing in the Hall of Fame game. And oftentimes when they are, we hold it against them. We did this with Josh Jacobs a few years back on the Raiders, where he was playing in the Hall of Fame game. And we definitely held that against him because we weren't as excited about Josh Jacobs at that time several years ago as we are right now. So it is interesting that Amari Hampton, Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Isaac Tesla, etc., are playing in the Hall of Fame game. And it kind of made them more appealing, particularly KLS and Tesla. But nonetheless, we know there's just like a handful of things that we know in fantasy football overall, but definitely in the best ball streets, is the market chases the news in terms of how it reacts to individual players. We can talk a little bit about the Matthew Stafford stuff. We'll definitely talk spoiler alert about some Travis Hunter stuff, but the market chases news. Jordan Addison gets a suspension that everyone knew Jordan Addison was getting suspended. It will like that. If you didn't understand that Jordan Addison was getting suspended, I'm not sure what you've been doing for the last, couple of months while drafting teams. And yet once the news hits, once it actually drops, these guys plummet in price, right? I suspect that the Puka Nakuas and the Matthew Staffords and Devontae Adams of the world are also going to plummet, despite the fact that I read the same Schefter report, that everybody else did. And I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what has changed. The expectation is that Matthew Stafford will be ready for week one. They continue to talk that he's on this plan to work on his back. Matthew Stafford just seemingly plays all the time. He's had back issues before. We've done this where we moved Cooper Kupp down the board. This was pre-Puka Nacua. We moved Cooper Kupp down the board when Matthew Stafford was having preseason back issues a few years back, and Matthew Stafford was fine. I'm not saying Matthew Stafford is going to be fine. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how his back feels. I don't know anything about the situation, but I know that the one thing I know for sure is that the market's going to react to all of these different things. So from a preseason perspective, the things that we need to react to are not necessarily the things that the market is going to react to. We want to know, right? If you're playing deep into a preseason game, that's often a little bit more concerning, even if you're playing well. But the market will react to, oh my God, that guy scored a touchdown. The market will react to, did you see that big play that guy had? And that's not always wrong, because making big plays in preseason games is good. It's not bad. It's certainly not a bad thing. But we just want to understand what our opponents are going to be doing and use that against them. Doesn't mean we can't buy these guys next week if they do rise, but there's a handful of players I just wanted to super quickly start to walk through, because these are guys that like I said, I've been particularly drafting anyway, but they're a combination of a couple of different things. They're a combination of a guy who has been playing well in camp, who is getting some camp hype already, right? And I think those are the guys most prone. Think about KLS, Keandre Lambert-Smith, in the Hall of Fame game last week. I keep saying weekend. Last Thursday. And he had been already getting a nice little drumbeat in camp, right? They're hyping him up. But the Chargers hype everybody. How real is this? It's unclear. Everybody on the Chargers is going to the Hall of Fame, according to Harbaugh and Roman. So how real was that? Not sure. But then comes out in the Hall of Fame game, catches a nice long go ball, and catches a touchdown, a slant for a touchdown. And now, if you were in drafts that night, especially, you're seeing KLS was undrafted in the overwhelming majority of best ball drafts, even in 20 rounds. And in that night and the following days, and it's still holding on a little bit right now, he's going in every draft. He's going before the last round in many different drafts. So if there are guys who are already performing well in camp that we want, right, that we want to be targeting, those are guys that we need to go ahead and hammer right now. And yes, I see Ben's comment. If you have some guys, we'll talk through some of your thoughts on those guys as well here. Yeah, Chris, Trey Lance, QB1. Trey Lance played pretty well in that game, ironically. Obviously, Trey Lance is irrelevant to us. I guess in some super flex drafts, Trey Lance could be relevant, but clearly not very relevant to the majority of our best ball drafts. But he played pretty well. Shout out Trey Lance, still alive and kicking. Ben says Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for the Washington Commanders is a great one. He's an interesting one because I'm not as on board with him as I am with some other guys that we'll talk about here super quickly. Krosky-Merritt is an interesting player in that he's very unique. So you guys are probably already aware of this, but just to quickly walk through his very kind of bizarre prospect profile. He's 24 years old. So he's quite old, and he was a 7th round pick in the NFL draft. Those are not great. Those are not totally ideal. It's more so on the red flag spectrum than they are on the positive side of things. He also essentially did not play last year. He went to New Mexico and played in 2023, and he was quite good. Very efficient as a runner, though probably the biggest red flag out of all of these things for me with Krosky-Merritt is he does not catch passes. He has not caught passes. Does that mean he'll never catch a pass in the NFL? No, not necessarily. But he caught 7 passes at New Mexico in his basically one college season, and then he essentially did not play last year at Arizona. So we have one season at New Mexico in the Mountain West. He was 22 when he was playing that season at New Mexico. Now he's 24. He has Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler in front of him. Someone was bringing up in the Discord this morning, maybe how does that relate to the Bears situation? The difference between someone like Krosky-Merritt and a Kyle Monangai, who is someone, to be clear, I'm not avoiding JCM here, but Kyle Monangai being a higher priority to me is Washington has told us Krosky-Merritt is having a solid camp, and beat writers are excited about him. I guess people are saying Matthew Berry is excited about him, which is always good. But shout out the GOAT, Mount Rushmore of fantasy, Matthew Berry. But the coaches also love Brian Robinson, and they also love Austin Eckler. Those are dependable veterans that are just not displaced. We in the fantasy world often are we're bored of those kind of players. They're just the ho-hum, average ass NFL running backs at this point. That's what Brian Robinson is. That's what Austin Eckler is at this point. Obviously, he was much better when he was younger. So we're I got to go find the next new thing. And that's not really how NFL teams operate. Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler were totally solid, dependable players on a team that went to the conference championship last year. And the 7th round rookie, like, we either care about draft capital or we don't, and I don't really. But this guy's going to come in. He's fighting for the last roster spot at the running back position, is my view of him, which is not nothing, and doesn't mean you can't draft him. But fighting for a roster spot versus Kyle Monangai, who we should talk about super quickly, on the Bears, who is running directly as DeAndre Swift's backup right now, has gotten time with the ones. That gets overused all the time because lots of guys do mix in with the ones, but Roschon is not. Monangai, from all reports, Goat Huddle says he is not fighting for a roster spot. I mean, he absolutely is fighting for a roster spot. They have multiple other. Jeremy McNichols and Chris Rodriguez were on the team and also effective last year. They're fighting him for a roster spot. That's just a fact. Doesn't mean he's not the favorite. He might be he probably is the favorite. No one's saying that he's not the favorite, but there's still a month left of camp. Like, the season doesn't start for a month. We can't declare 7th round rookies fighting veterans who were on the team last year just like a lock already. That's just not how it works. Like I said, he might be the favorite, but he has a month left. Like, it hasn't been decided. They haven't even played a fucking preseason game yet. We get a week's worth of camp news, and we already have decided we know the future. Like, most of camp still has to happen. And all of the preseason still has to happen. Whereas Kyle Monangai, on the flip side, like, there's already quotes about, like, this is a guy we're going to trust when the season gets here. Roschon Johnson has never been a thing, essentially. The only time we've seen Roschon Johnson pop up is in some team drills, finally getting in as a goal line back, but never playing in a real role, with the starters. And so he is a guy. I totally agree. If you like Krosky Merritt, if he has a good preseason, he's going to fly up. I'm with you. There's no debate. We are handshake on that one. But is he the same level of guy I want to chase up the boards? Not necessarily. Because his situation is just a little bit different. Doesn't mean I have sprinkled him in. He's just not quite at the high level. You know who is already ripping off big plays in camp, in practice. There's highlights out there in there. The Ravens had a scrimmage. The running back who has been my single biggest priority, more than Kyle Monangai, more than Krosky Merritt, more than trying to figure out the Chiefs backfield, or more than the 49ers stuff, which will probably come up on today's show. Keaton Mitchell. You want to talk about a guy who everybody loved as a rookie in terms of his get the glaze out. What is going on here? Happy Wednesday. Come on, let's have some fun. We're trying to talk about some fun players. You can't talk about how Krosky Merritt is a lock, but I can talk about I'm glazing Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell also rotating in with the ones. By all accounts, every Ravens coach, Keaton himself, not just back to the player he was as a rookie, who was insanely good on his limited touches, is faster, is better. This is also a player who has very real contingent value that I'm not sure is totally priced in, because people aren't sure, he's small. How much work can he take on? He was a workhorse in college at Eastern Carolina, caught a lot of passes, was the man in the backfield, stood up to a ton of work. He looks a little completely opposite style players, but the type of player that we discount because they don't look exactly how we want them to look, right? He's a little bit small. The Kyron Williams, the Bucky Irvings, they're imperfect. He's not a perfect player, but we discount the value of those types of players because he's not 5'11", 225 pounds, and he didn't come from Alabama or whatever. And that's it. You could probably say that for Krosky Merritt as well, though he goes ahead. He goes ahead of guys like Keaton Mitchell. Do you think Mitchell has a path to reps without Derrick Henry getting hurt? Does he take reps from Hill? I think he takes reps from both of them. I think he absolutely has a path to real work. He's think about a change of pace back. Like, he is what you dream up in a lab. You have Derrick Henry over here. Justice Hill is just a passing down back, right? Justice Hill comes in when they're in like obvious passing situations, or the game script goes into obvious passing mode. that's when Justice Hill comes in. And so you can pull in Keaton, and he can do a little bit of both. And he can be the super explosive 4.3 40 like home run hitter. They love to use him with some screens, it's kind of a Bucky thing as well. Use him for some screens because he's not a traditional. He can catch the ball, and he's good in the passing game, but he's not like your typical passing down back. He's not a big time, he's smaller, not a great pass protector. And so how do you still get him the ball? Well, right, you design some plays for Bucky, for Keaton to get them the ball. I think you can do that. I think he can pick up some slack on the ground. Derrick Henry is 32 years old. I know he's a mutant and a cyborg, and he's never going to get worse or get hurt or all that kind of stuff, but they're trying to win a Super Bowl. This is the perfect player without Derrick Henry ever getting injured to ease up and make sure Derrick Henry doesn't get injured. From the Ravens' perspective, they got this guy back. Ben says he was on the same plane as HN their rookie years. If he's back, that could be insane. That's it. This is it. You guys are nailing it. Josh says great thing about Keaton is he can get there on 8 touches, 100%. And yeah, Goat says Bucky was the least appealing smash play to ever exist. That's exactly it. Like, these guys are kind of the perfect kinds of picks. They have this contingent value that we know what Keaton Mitchell is at full strength. And by all indications, he is at full strength. When we get that certain level of clarity, and then we also get the contingent value of being on the Ravens, there's some probable standalone value that exists. Like, not he's not, I don't know. He's not, he's not Tyrone Tracy or something like that with standalone value, but there's something there. And we get this perfect combination of the elite situation, possible incredible talent, certainly high upside spike week ability, with contingent value behind a guy who goes, at the 1-2 turn ish in drafts, in Derrick Henry. That seems like the dream. A couple of other guys I just quickly wanted to touch on. Taj Brooks has already risen up a little bit, similar to the Krosky Merritt thing. A lot of rookies here. Almost all rookies, actually, on my list. Pretty much all rookies, yeah. But the rookies are the ones we're most excited to see because we've never seen them before. So Keaton being this injured guy is one I think that was notable as a veteran that we wanted to make sure, like, we saw if we see something like, holy shit, he's back, he's going to, and he's also a home run hitter, right? If you get a home run in a preseason game, that's even more impactful in terms of the market's eyes, as we talked about earlier. Taj Brooks, another late round running back. I mentioned Manungai. Taj might just be running away with the RB2 job. Of course, how does it fit with Samaje Perine being the veteran to still steal passing down work? I'm not sure that it is going to make a big difference, whatever happens here in camp for Taj. I think it's almost like they kind of know what they want to do now. Chase Brown, Taj Brooks, Samaje Perine, after having cut Zach Moss. I'm not sure there's another guy there that's fighting in for that spot, but we'll see here in the preseason. And so Taj is probably going to get a lot of work. And so if he pops in that work, then, I am really struggling to see how he doesn't shoot way up. Like, his teammate goes in at the 2-3 turn in drafts as the projected workhorse. And if this young rookie that people are also excited about, similar to Krosky Merritt, similar to Manungai, similar to, whoever, if he pops in what might be some pretty voluminous action in the preseason, same deal. I think he could really rise up the boards. Another veteran running back I want to touch on super quickly, because I don't really get why he isn't rising at a much more precipitous pace, is Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen has been, in quotes, the star of camp for the New York Jets, and constantly talked about as the, him and Brees are 1A and 1B, and they don't even like specify which one is which. Yeah, Brees goes at the 3-4 turn, and Braylon is still going in the 160s and 170s. If the Jets get out there, they play their starters, and Braylon gets the first. What happens when Braylon Allen gets the first carry for the New York Jets, right? Brees obviously plummets, but I just want to get ahead of this Braylon stuff. I don't really understand why he is still going as cheaply as he is. And if he comes in and scores a touchdown in preseason, or like I said, if he's just getting work with the starters, that's the only thing that it will require for him to shoot up the boards. We also should at least quickly talk about Ben asked, do you think Dario Gumbawale has any value over Woody Marks? No, I do not. I think we know what Dare is at this point, the Pirine level, just like veteran, trusted pass catching back and special teamer. Pirine doesn't play special teams, but you get the point. I think they likely want to roll with Woody. That backfield, another one to monitor. Goat says, imagine the week 1 split is like, basically 50-50 Breece Braylon with a little bit of Isaiah Davis mixing in there. I think that's kind of what they've shown us they want to do, honestly. So we'll see. As we polish up some of these last, some wide receivers, we're going to talk about some wide receivers. I do want to pop into this Best Ball Mania just because I'm in a sliver of a time crunch today. We got to get out of here at about 11:40. Is that right? Yeah, 11:40. I believe I have to get out of here. So let's make sure we get our drafts in and we talk through some of these guys. Let's move over here. Some wide receivers. We have to talk about this Travis Hunter thing. We absolutely have to talk about the Travis Hunter thing. If you didn't see, Liam Cohen was asked in an interview about, of course, Travis Hunter, how much is he going to play? Is he going to play offense? Is he going to play defense? Same old questions that we've been getting, forever from reporters, as we should. They're very curious about Travis Hunter. He continues to practice essentially on both sides of the ball every single day. It is always funny to see the jersey color watch at Jags camp is always a fun one. We are tracking which color jersey. The teal jersey, I have learned, is for offense. The offense wears teal in Jacksonville. I now know this, and we'll probably never forget it because of Travis Hunter. And the white jerseys are for the defense. He wears both. He's basically practicing both every single day. But Cohen mentioned that Travis Hunter, he tossed around. So he was asked about, what his role is going to be. And he's kind of just spitballing. But as we do with fantasy analysts, we think that like this, he gave us his week 1 game plan. He said, here's exactly how many snaps Travis Hunter is going to play every single week. Like he doesn't know that yet, but he's just giving it like some ideas about what he thinks is possible. And he threw around the term or the phrase 80%, the number 80% in terms of how many offensive snaps Travis Hunter could play. And certainly it's bullish. Like it makes me more bullish on Travis Hunter as well. But I'm not like taking that to the bank that week 1 he's going to play 80% of snaps. Though, again, we're trying to spot some risers. And think about, with all the hype surrounding Travis Hunter already and all this like confusion and debate and argument and whatever over how much he's going to play on both sides of the ball. And he comes out and he catches a touchdown in the preseason. Can you imagine? God forbid he it's a sick move, right? He makes somebody miss, he mosses somebody or whatever, and he scores a touchdown. Imagine what's going to happen to Travis Hunter's ADP, the most polarizing player in the history of best ball, that just got a quote from his coach talking about 80% of offensive snaps. And then he comes out in the preseason and he catches a touchdown, makes a big play. Do you think we're going to be getting him where we're getting him right now when that happens? I would place a significant amount of chips on the fact that no, we're not going to be getting him there. I'm going to pull up Brian Thomas Jr. I think we'll talk about some of the Rams, the Matthew Stafford stuff a little bit more tomorrow. But it is a situation that I'm going to track a little bit and see if we can get a fall. I'll basically what I want to try to do is use this to I don't have Ladd and BTJ together. I don't have BT. Let's do BTJ Bowers. I don't have BTJ and Bowers yet in BBM. So that seems like a good bet. Get Dorito says Hunter's ADP may jump even if he makes a sick interception, which would theoretically be the opposite of what we would want to rise his ADP. But I just think Travis Hunter has to be the flagship player for, if he does anything, if he walks to his car cool after practice, people will be excited about Travis Hunter. And they probably should. He's a cool ass player. He plays both sides of the football. That's fun. That's awesome. But like, in terms of from a practical sense, we're trying to profit off of this. We're trying to build the best ball teams that we can. I'm thinking about it as like, he needs to be, if I want him, right? If you don't want any Travis Hunter, don't draft him at all. But if you are interested in Travis Hunter, you've got I don't even know when their preseason game is. But you've got a little bit of time before that preseason game to and I don't know if they're playing their starters or anything. Those are things that we'll have to check on as we get closer to their game. But like, I just don't see a world in which Travis Hunter makes any kind of remotely even like half cool play and he doesn't shoot up. Like, just the fact that he's like playing offense in a preseason game, I think will rise him. Like, he's a ticking time bomb. He is the ticking time bomb, I think. What if he gets divorced before the season starts? People will probably say, he's going to be motivated now. He has no distractions. Maybe the marriage was unhealthy. Now he's freed up and to get into a positive headspace heading into his first NFL season. He can be focused, so that way he can play both sides of the football full time. We can spin anything around here. We are very good at spinning things into whatever the hell we want them to be in best ball land. If you've learned anything from this year or the last 5 years of doing this, Goats, 2x the opportunity to get injured. That is my single big, when anyone asks about like Travis Hunter, my single biggest fear, or like, aren't you worried? My aren't you worried with Travis Hunter is not, is he going to play offense? How much offense is he going to play? Are they going to play him defense and not play him offense? No. The single biggest fear with Travis Hunter all along is the wear and tear on a young man, and not particularly big young man's body, playing that many snaps in the NFL, tackling dudes, running routes, and then being tackled. Like, guys get hurt constantly playing a third of the snaps of what Travis Hunter is going to play. That's my biggest fear as it relates to Travis Hunter. But I am trying to draft him quite frequently right now. Let's do a little Josh Allen. Fun start. Don't have this BTJ, Brock Bowers, Josh Allen start yet in Best Ball Mania. What about Damian Pierce? Josh says, do you think he would get some more run? He's just got back healthy. I'm not mentioning the Texans backfield because I think someone is going to rise amongst Pierce, Woody. Woody's already risen, but I think Woody can continue to rise. That's what she said. I think Woody can continue to rise. God damn it! Now I'm not gonna be able to get this takeout. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think I can get this takeout now with that phrasing. All right. I'm just gonna do Kittle. I'm just gonna do Kittle again. Jaquavius Marks will definitely rise if he's like the RB1. Right. If he's starting the preseason game, he catches some passes or whatever, he's definitely going to rise. Yeah. Peter Griffin laughs, says C-Spot. But the Texans backfield is one I'm like, I think we all are like super closely monitoring. I know I haven't mentioned Nick Chubb, but my current expectation for Nick Chubb is that he's cooked. If you read all of the quotes coming out of Houston about Nick Chubb, it's like the most polite way to say this guy doesn't have it anymore. He's washed. That stinks. Nick Chubb was one of the best runners, maybe the best, him and Derrick Henry, the best runners like of a generation almost. And it sucks, but it is what it is. We're in this game to build the best teams that we can and again, try to make money. And I think it's going to be Woody, and we'll see where Damian Pierce fits in there. The talk of camp, apparently, at least according to this one Texans like sort of beat writer, I'm not really sure, has been Jawar Jordan. second-year running back out of Louisville. And so we're keeping an eye out there. But I have my concerns about Joe Mixon's overall 2025 season and when he'll be back and if he'll be back. And so you combine that with Chubb being, dude, it is just so ridiculous that Nick Chubb and Woody Marks are in the same backfield. Like, for being a grown man who still laughs at the most childish shit of all time and says that's what she said and all that kind of stuff. This is just like wildly unfair to have to talk about the Texans backfield. And then, of course, for it to be like so important with Mixon being out, it would be no big deal because we like wouldn't really care about Chubb or Woody if Mixon was just fine. But naturally, we have to have this conversation. And then Jawar is the third guy, a real mouthful. But Chris asked, what about Mixon? He really didn't do anything in preseason last year until mid to late August. My concern with Mixon is not whether or not he does something in preseason. My concern with Mixon is we don't have the absolute any idea what's going on with him. If I'm reading tea leaves, it sounds really, really bad. I just don't really see a reason. Like, everyone, right? Isaiah Likely broke a bone in his foot. The next day, we know he broke a bone in his foot and he's out for, call it, 6 weeks. These guys get hurt and we learn about it very, very quickly. Where did Travis Hunter go in this draft, by the way? Chuba, let's build a zero RB team. We're zero RB-ish. We'll see what OMG and Playful does here with all these running backs that are available. Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey, 2 more guys. I think they were much more expensive than this when we started the draft cycle. They've fallen down a little bit. And if we get Travion and RJ Harvey having strong preseason performances, I think they can jump ahead of this group of let's see here. I have 24% Travion. I do have a lot of overlap on these Travion teams here. 40% with Josh Allen, 50% with BTJ. But I'll be honest with you, I can't pass on him right here at pick 63. I believe I have him ranked 50th overall. So hopefully Travion and BTJ do well together. Hold hands, guys, across the finish line. But 2 more guys, I think, that really matter. And again, the Texans thing is just I have my reservations about Nick Chubb ever being an NFL quality running back anymore. Like, is Nick Chubb going to make the team? Like, Nick Chubb's going awfully high for a veteran that may not make the team. Joe Mixon, like, they're going to, in quotes, reevaluate him closer to the season, meaning like you can reevaluate somebody and nope, still hurt, right? Like, you go in for a checkup and your back still hurts. You know what I mean? Like that's what's going on with Matthew Stafford, essentially. That has everyone concerned. Is they're monitoring him, right? They're working, but he's still hurt. He's not healthy yet. So we're concerned about Matthew Stafford. I suspect Puka, Devontae, and of course Stafford himself are going to fall. Joe Mixon, we're not getting any updates, and the only update they got is we'll update you, right? The update they gave us is we'll update you later. It's like the teasing a teaser type situation. It's like, we're going to announce something later. It's like, cool. Do you have anything else to say? Nope. Just be on the lookout because we're going to announce something. It's like, well, you could have just fucking announced it instead of telling me that you're going to announce something, right? That's what the Texans are doing. They're kicking this can down the road. And like, there's just like no real reason to do it other than to hide some information from everybody. Typically for them, from their opponents, not from us. They don't have a lot of incentive other than, I guess, their fans, like selling tickets or something. Just like a lot of smoke that I'm pretty concerned with. So I'm just like straight. I removed Mixon from our rankings because I just don't even want. I don't like when people ask about it. Like, I'm not drafting him. I'll let somebody else draft him. I understand. Say, well, what about in the last round? It's like he just never gets there, so I don't even care about that conversation. If he gets to me in the last round, I still probably won't take him. But it is what it is. I understand the opposite perspectives. I just don't think Joe Mixon is worth that level of risk. If he beats me, he doesn't fall to that point. But if Joe Mixon falls to the 16th round and he beats me, I can live with myself. If Joe Mixon falls to the 12th round and I can't help but take that ADP value and he never plays football again, or he's just like completely useless all of this season, can I live with myself? Honestly, no. I think I would feel like that was a terrible mistake. So if you feel differently, by all means, you're going to get right. He's going at pick 78. He's going to keep falling, I think, but he's just nowhere near a price to me that's appealing for the level of risk that we have to take on with Joe Mixon. This is fitting because Chris Godwin is on the board here. And not Chris Godwin, he ain't going to be playing to start the preseason, so he's not a candidate for this conversation. But another rookie wide receiver is, who I'm not sure I've ever heard, Travis Hunter, and I am going to take Chris Godwin, however. I quite like the price especially in the playoff format tournaments where Chris Godwin, like I can survive for the first little bit without him. And then he comes back and he's on this supercharged Bucs offense because Emeka Egbuka, one of the rookies I'm most excited to see, and I'm also most terrified to watch him go score a touchdown in a preseason game and just absolutely do I want Jordan Mason or do I want to go pull up a Keon, or because I don't have a stack with Allen, though I have built this team a few different times. But let's go ahead and pull Keon up here to get my Josh Allen stack going. Through 8 rounds, Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, Josh Allen, George Kittle, Zay Flowers. I am just now realizing that I did George Kittle and Brock Bowers. This is what happens when you get deep into conversations about Chubbs and Woodies. You do a double elite tight end. But hey, this will be fun. This will be a different team for me for sure. Chubbs and Woodies get you Kittles and Bowers. Is skipping on Mixon the same bet as skipping on Dobbins last year? No, because Dobbins was practicing, and Dobbins was. It's actually the opposite. It's a good question. It's actually the opposite. Last year, Dobbins said he's 100%. Dobbins practiced over the summer. The coaches told us Dobbins was the starter, and we said, I don't believe you. Right? We went Will Ferrell. We went straight Will Ferrell in Anchorman. I don't believe you. Light up our cigarette. And they were not lying. Dobbins was healthy. J.K. Dobbins was telling the truth. The Chargers were telling the truth. Spoiler alert, Kamani Vidal, not such a good pick. Also, Mixon is much more expensive. J.K. Dobbins was going in like the 16th round. So maybe if we do get to that point, it's very possible. Bowers, Kittle, got to win the flex. Let's hope that they're both awesome. What we're doing with Joe Mixon is, again, the exact opposite. The team is telling us, like, in not so many words, this is bad. And we're just like, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. We're doing the exact stone opposite. We're doing the exact opposite of last year with J.K. Dobbins. And I'm trying to learn from those mistakes. When the teams tell, even if it's indirect, right? This is the Kyle Monangai thing. And this, we talked about Krosky. It could end up being, if they start telling me that Krosky Merritt has like dethroned Brian Robinson, I'm going to take him in every draft and I'm going to reach for him, because the biggest lesson I've learned in all of best ball is when we save all these teams to draft right now in this training camp preseason cycle to wait for the coaches and the teams to tell us about these players. And then when it happens, I'm also trying to get my Tyrone Tracy up. The Cam Scattaboo injury is concerning, and I'm not that concerned with the depth chart stuff, though I think it does speak well to Tyrone Tracy's current position heading into the preseason. And with Scat injured, I'm not sure how it changes. I don't think Devin Singletary is like a competent NFL running back as well, but I don't think he's going to take the job from Tyrone Tracy. What the hell were we talking about before besides Tridents? And are you also fading Aaron Jones completely? No, not completely. Not completely. But I do prefer Jordan. Like I have Jordan Mason one spot ahead of Aaron Jones. They're right next to each other in the rankings. This is a interesting draft we got going on here, guys. I'm trying to get my Luther Burden up a little bit too. And given the fact that I stupidly did double elite tight end plus Josh Allen, I could use some wide receiver juice. And I do have a couple of running backs already in the bag with Tracy and Trevion. So let's get a little Luther Burden action. But no, I'm not fading Aaron Jones completely, though. He's also one of those a little bit more site-specific guys. I prefer Jordan Mason to Aaron Jones on all sites, but especially on Underdog. And I'm going to have more Jordan Mason. I am going to, however, have a dabble of Aaron Jones, probably a little bit more on DraftKings and Drafters, where he's a pretty good pass catcher, and that his skill set naturally plays up to PPR a little bit better. But we've reached the point where I was drafting 0 Aaron Jones because A, I could get Jordan Mason cheaper than him, and I liked him straight up better. And B, there was a group Aaron Jones was amongst, right? Think about a month ago, Emeka Buka went there. Let's see, the Matthew Golden went there. I'm trying to think. Let's look. Josh Downs went there. Jaden Reed went there. All these different Addison types. Stephon Diggs used to go in that range. Well, that's just changed. That whole story has changed. All those running backs have moved up. I've moved Keon into that territory now, so it's still difficult for me to take Aaron Jones over Keon Coleman, particularly with the Shakir injury. I think this is going to be pretty good for the run out for Keon Coleman. So I still struggle to take him over Keon, just like in one draft if I'm taking my favorite player. But Aaron Jones is now in a pocket of the draft that I think is completely viable, like him versus Pacheco versus Mason versus those guys that go there now. The quarterbacks, if you don't need a quarterback, then Aaron Jones pops out a little bit, but not a priority for me for sure. Do you ever multi-table? Caldwell Paratori says, hopefully I got that right. Do you ever multi-table, do multiple fast drafts at once? I found I like my teams when I do that. I don't overthink too much. Yes, I absolutely multi-table often. And we specifically built this tool that you see here with all the exposures and stuff. You see Draft Hacker loading. You see all this different stuff where the correlations are lighting up, right? Ramondre showing up in this orangish color because I have a Patriot, but a non-quarterback, right? So I know when I see this color, I have a Patriot, but it's not the quarterback. I know when I see blue, right? Dalton Kincaid here, I know I have the quarterback on that team. So, and then obviously I can see all my, I see the playoff matchups, those highlight, right? Same thing, blue. When I see the one of the playoff matchups in blue, I'm like, okay, I have right? Ramondre, I have Josh Allen now, right? Baltimore, I have a Raven, but I don't have Lamar. And then obviously all my different exposures. I love multi-tabling, and the Draft Hacker is like absolutely killer for being able to do so. I don't want Ramondre with. Let's do Tank. Tank, another potential riser in the preseason when the Jags come out and play their starters. If Tank gets that first snap, everyone's going to panic. Even though I think that's the expectation now, isn't it? I think we all just expect when the first carry is going to go to Tank Bigsby, and yet we'll still all panic when it happens. It's like the Addison suspension. It's like, hasn't camp just been Tank as the lead runner, at least? Probably not the lead pass catcher, but the lead runner. But then when it happens, we will freak the fuck out for sure. Josh Palmer, build out this Bills stuff. God knows I need some wide receivers. We are through 12 rounds. BTJ, Bowers, Josh Allen, George Kittle, Zay Flowers, Travion Henderson, Chris Godwin, Keon Coleman, Luther Burden, and Josh Palmer, and of course Tyrone Tracy and Tank Bigsby at running back. I like this team. Even with the double elite tight end, I like this team. It was a good mistake that I made. This is a good team. Kind of swaying in and out of right? Bankable production. BTJ and Zay were good. Josh Palmer and Keon were good to start the season, but Godwin and Burden kind of swinging a little bit, some late season upside given I needed at wide receiver because I'm a dum-dum and I took 3 elite onesies. Good morning, Mac. We're doing wonderful. I know I didn't finish my thought earlier, but I obviously drafted Chris Godwin. Amen, Daniel. This team is a shipper. I agree. But Emeka Buka, I just want to finish the thought on Emeka Buka. He continues to rise, and I don't think we've hit anywhere near a ceiling on the rise from Emeka Buka. Like, you cannot possibly get more hype about a player. Now, if he goes out and does it in a preseason game, I mean, he's a first-round pick wide receiver. Aren't you worried about Chris Godwin's ankle? We all are. Mike Evans is basically announcing he's on his retirement tour. Jalen McMillan is, whatever. He's part of the future of the Bucs, but he's not holding Emeka Buka back. We're excited about this offense. They're one of the higher scoring offenses in the league. And every time anyone even like that lives in the area of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, nonetheless associated with the team, a beat writer, Baker Mayfield, the coaches, the Godwin and Evans, everyone, anytime they open their mouth about Ibuka, he's the single greatest rookie you've ever seen in your entire life. Professional, talented, making plays, right? Wise beyond his years. Coach's dream. Like, they've used every cliche and every hype mechanism to discuss Emeka Buka now, and that has caused a significant rise in his price, and I think it's warranted. But wait till he does it in a preseason game. What in the hell do we think is going to happen? I hate to tell you, but Rome Odunze and Deebo Samuel and those guys are not holding back his price. He's going to end up at like pick 60. Maybe higher for all I know. This is nice for Algier. I want to look at quarterback really quick. Ooh, they both need. I gotta take Geno because both these guys need a quarterback. Oh my God, why won't it scroll? Okay, got Geno. Geno stacked with Brock Bowers, of course. I've been trying to get a good clip of Geno. I just had like sort of slowly having a realization that he's just such an incredible backstop pick at quarterback. I know he's not going to completely set the world. I'm very happy that I just took Geno, by the way, because Bryce, Darnold, and Rodgers go off the board. I still get Algier. Thank the Lord. I almost screwed that up and lost the Geno, and that would have been a very stupid move by me. But the more that the market gets sharper, particularly amongst these wide receivers, where that quarterback window, like, I really love the elite quarterbacks, Allen, Lamar, right, Daniels, Hurts, etc. I love those guys. Like, what's a great way to maybe use like the Keon range and use Burden and the guys in the rounds that I would normally be taking the quarterbacks? Bateman, Jaden Higgins, those different guys. I don't really love Michael Pittman so much, but you can lump any of those guys into that little range right around anywhere from pick 85 to pick 125 or something, where I often take quarterbacks because that quarterback range is awesome, right? Purdy, Lawrence, Herbert, May, on down the list. Well, the market is changing a little bit. Let's use Geno with Brock Bowers, first round player, give or take for me. 1-2 turn player in my rankings. Brock Bowers, 13th overall. Ashton Genty, first round player, give or take. Jacoby Myers, 6th round. And a bad defense, a division that they're going to have to score a bunch of points to keep up with everybody in that division. Coaching upgrade. Geno's just like a good real life quarterback. He's a non-zero as a runner. He's not a runner at all, but a non-zero. He can provide you something over the course of the season with his legs. 2 rookie, like Dante Thornton is popping in camp. Speaking of another guy who could rise, right? Lots of rookies in this risers conversation. Dante Thornton has been dominating at camp, has already risen up to like pick 180 on Underdog. What happens when he does one of his long touchdowns from training camp in the preseason game? Jack Besh, the second round pick that they had at wide receiver. There's just a lot of weaponry on this offense. And Geno's just like good. And he's like freely available after a bunch of other quarterbacks that, I don't mind Bryce Young. I don't mind, Darnold, whatever. I don't mind some of these other guys, but Geno's just an absolute standout in that range. I think T says I've been late stacking Geno with Thornton after you get like you can if you don't get Bowers or Jacoby, or you don't want to draft Jacoby Myers or whatever, you can backstack him with Thornton or Besh. I prefer Thornton, but I think everybody does now. I think we're getting the price on Besh finally now that like actually makes some sense. He says as he now gets his feet put to the fire, I could take both of them here actually but I am going to take Thornton. We'll see if Besh comes back around. I kind of then I'd be done at wide receiver at 8. This is where I kind of let the room a little. There goes Besh. I let the room a little bit dictate to me how it's going to play out in terms of exactly how. So I'm obviously only going to take 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. If I took a third tight end with fucking Bowers and Kittle, just end me. But I got to go get Will Shipley here because, as you see here, first of all, he plays the Bills in Week 17. I have my Bills Josh Allen stack, but he also plays the Raiders in Week 15. So my 2 core stacks, there's a lot of little playoff correlation with a Will Shipley or any other Eagle, of course. Will Shipley, Saquon is missing in the fantasy playoffs, and I have the Will Shipley bring back to my Raiders stack in Week 15, and the Will Shipley bring back to my Josh Allen Big Bills stack in Week 17. Thoughts on AR in that range? I'm starting to get really excited for him again, unfortunately. I am also, and I feel like this is about to be, Lucy Brown with the football, and I'm Lucy, and I'm Charlie Brown with the football here with Anthony Richardson. I'm in. I had not taken a single share of Anthony Richardson until like 2 weeks ago or a week ago or something like that. And I am using him. That Geno, the thing I was talking about with Geno, I think also is AR's like the total home run swing version. Geno's like I feel good about this, but like I'll probably at best get a double or a triple, maybe a triple. Geno could like maybe be a triple. Anthony Richardson is like I could hit a grand fucking slam. I get a 5-run home run. Those aren't even possible, but you could hit it with Anthony Richardson at pick 175 or whatever. Yeah. It's early. We'll see, but it's another one of those where I mentioned before, like with the backfields, my biggest lesson is listen. This time of year, it's listening time. We do all the talking before, and I mean, I'm still doing lots of talking every day for multiple hours. But we do all the talk from May into June. All we do is do talking, right? Our takes on this guy, our prospect profiles, our favorite way to structure teams, our whatever. And then when we get to August and September, those first couple days of September, it's time to listen. Listen to what the coaches are telling you. When the coach tells you, we trust this guy in the season already, right? The Bears trust Kyle Monangai in the fall already. The Colts are telling us that right now this is Anthony Richardson's room. This is his offense, not Daniel Jones. And we kind of thought it was the opposite before. I think it's time to adjust. And I'm willing to live right. Is he going to get benched? Yeah, maybe. Probably. However we want to define that. It's very, very possible. Ooh, Jalen Royals. But, come on. We're not going to draft without Keaton. Come on. Now, with Travion, Tracy Bigsby, I think we'll keep this. And I just need the wide receiver firepower with the three elite. Damn. Is he? Please don't take Royals. OMG. If you're listening, don't take. Okay, good. I was playful. Playful went Monangai and Horton there at the 17-18 turn. I'm quite sure I've done that at the 17-18 turn. Torrey Horton, Jalen Royals. I'm selecting Jalen Royals and Torrey Horton, the other guy who I was particularly interested in drafting there. Two players who also scream risers from the preseason. The hype on both Torrey Horton and Jalen Royals is massive out of each of their training camps. They have particularly Jalen Royals injured veterans littered all around them. The graveyard of the Chiefs wide receivers. Hollywood Brown. Rasheed's not hurt, I guess, and Worthy's back, right? He didn't actually have a concussion, but you get the point. He's got every opportunity to shine, and we know what the Chiefs, you know, I'm trying to think of what the right word is. Just the vibes of a Chief, being a Chiefs wide receiver, and I think one good preseason play from Jalen Royals, and he's already risen up a little bit. He skyrockets way up, and Torrey Horton also already notably starting to rise. I hope you've been hammering the shit out of Torrey Horton up until this point, but I would still keep doing it with these guys because, again, Torrey Horton playing with the starters on the Seahawks, a fun, interesting prospect, but a like unknown sort of out of Colorado State, but like insanely productive, and then had an injury last year. I'm not saying there is no such thing as another Puka Nacua. I'm not calling him that, but like the trajectory a little bit is somewhat similar. But Puka never stayed healthy at all throughout college. Horton had two insane monster seasons, and then this past year got hurt. You know, same thing with Jalen Royals. I think if those guys both stay healthy, they probably go higher in the NFL draft. And now they're showing why. And now if they go do it in a preseason game, like, look out, man. They're going to rise way up. But I like this team, despite the fact that I took a structure I certainly would not normally take. Took Brian Thomas Jr. at the 110. Brock Bowers. This is the first time I've started a draft with BTJ and Bowers. I wanted to rectify that. Josh Allen, double elite tight end, like an idiot with George Kittle, but we turned it around. We turned it into a pretty good team. Zay Flowers falls all the way back to pick 58. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this Zay Flowers ADP. Like Calvin Ridley and DK Metcalf in front of Zay Flowers. I don't get it. Travion Henderson, Chris Godwin, Keon Coleman, obviously stacked with Allen. Tyrone Tracy, another guy that I'm targeting right now, especially, past pick 100 seems really good. Luther Burden, Tank Bigsby, Josh Palmer, also Bill Stack. Close out Brock Bowers. Close out my quarterback room with Geno Smith. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Stacked with Brock Bowers. Tyler Algier, just going to keep scooping him up at these prices as well. Dante Thornton, build out the Raiders stack a little bit more. And then Will Shipley. We talked about, you guys know about Will Shipley, but also the correlation with Will Shipley is really nice with these two stacks. Keaton Mitchell and Jalen Royals. Let's get into another draft and see if we can't find some more preseason risers. Oh, wow. Nice. Full. Travis, who is this year's Geno with Seattle and Baker of last year? Lawrence. It's not quite the same. I think Russ is an interesting candidate. I think Russ is a very interesting candidate. Ironically, Geno could be this year's Geno. Like, he moved teams again, and he has awesome players. And now the offense isn't cheap. So the difference between Geno and Baker in those seasons is the whole offense was priced down a little bit because of their movement. We're not pricing down Genty and Bowers and Jacoby Myers, but we did price down Geno. So maybe Geno is this year's Geno, but the Raiders are not this year's Seahawks or this year's Bucks. I think this year's Bucks is the Jags. But the Giants are pretty interesting, to your point. Russ is the best. Like, I'm not a Russ guy, but Russ is the best quarterback the Giants have had in a long time. And Malik Neighbors is the best receiver they've had, very long time, if not ever, right? Ever in modern like fantasy football times. If Russ is if Dayball just needed a little bit better quarterback play, if Neighbors is a superstar and Russ is solid, they're probably not going to win a ton of games because the schedule's really hard, but I think the Giants could surprise. I did a video the other day about 10 bets I've already made for week 1 because Let's pull up Neighbors, shall we? Let's do this Giants thing. Pull Neighbors up to the 104. I bet the Giants +7 against the Commanders in week 1 already. We're going to be rolling out some sports betting stuff here on the channel because like we're all best ball sickos, and then we're sweating our teams and stuff during the games. We're probably placing some wagers and stuff during the game, so we might as well do it too, right? We're all going to sweat our Anthony Richardson, Jalen Royals, Keaton Mitchell, Travis Hunter teams during the season. And I'm betting on these games just like you guys are probably, but I bet the Giants. I kind of think the Giants are going to surprise. Famous last words. I'm a little bit higher on the Giants than other people. Like that. When in the hell has that ever worked? But I do kind of believe in it. D-Lou, shout out D-Lou, says, why were people letting AR drop to round 17, 18? Did they actually think Danny Nichols, I like that, Danny Nichols was a threat? Some people did, yeah. I think lost in the Colts stuff was the negativity surrounding Anthony Richardson clouded the fact that we forgot how bad Daniel Jones is. And as someone who drafted a bunch of Daniel Jones last year, I'm open to drafting bad players in fantasy football, okay? Because Daniel Jones has scored some fantasy points in the past. But you know who really scores some fucking fantasy points? Anthony Richardson really scores some fantasy points, especially like an underdog, half PPR, no bonuses, touchdowns rule all on underdog. Anthony Richardson is a pretty good guy. Do you have Theo well above ADP? No, not well above ADP. The problem for Theo is in the mix. Theo Johnson, that is in the mix for me amongst late round tight ends. I can't take him over Harold Fannin. The Theo is like I'm buying some routes for cheap on the Giants. I don't hate it. Maybe we'll punt tight end on this team. That might be difficult because Trey McBride might be here. Oh my God, nope. I'm taking Brock Bowers, guys. I'm sorry. It's happening. Brock Bowers, air quotes, falls to 21, but we get Neighbors. Bowers. Obviously, they play in week 17. I can't pass on it, guys. So we're not punting tight end. But it's hard for me to take Theo over Harold Fannin. And I've decided this year, I do plenty of like smoothing out of exposures and all that kind of stuff in certain spots. But I've just decided, like, let's put our balls on the table for once. And I mean, I had 50% Sam Howell a couple of years ago, right? I'm going to have like 60% Will Shipley. I'm willing to put it to place my chips on the things that I believe in, but I would sometimes smooth things out around the edges a little bit more. And with like the Fannins of the world, I just decided I believed in this guy. Like I believed in this guy. If you listen to the content here, like when we were doing rookie content, Corinne and I were doing rookie content, back in February, and we put out rookie rankings. Like I put out my rookie rankings and stuff. Like I've been obsessed with Harold Fannin forever. And so like, are we going to do this, right? Do we believe in this thing or not? Okay. I'm not doing, I'm not doing double elite tight end on both of these teams. Garrett or JSN. Let's do Marv. I have a hard time drafting Neighbors. Bottom offenses don't usually have top position finishers. As Bernie says, Neighbors was on an even worse offense. So here's two things I'd say. One, superstars rise above. Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, these guys, they rise above. There's a certain level, right? On bad, when you're not a difference maker, this is my. You're actually correct. When you're not a difference-making player, DK Metcalf. Remember Brandon Cooks on the Houston Texans? When you're not a difference-making player, remember when Allen Robinson didn't have it anymore when he was on the Bears and we're drafting him at the 2-3 turn? Like those kinds of guys, when you're not a difference maker and then you're on a bad offense, yeah, because you're the, quote, wide receiver one, right? Those guys definitely fail very frequently. But Malik Neighbors is a superstar. Malik Neighbors might ascend to the best wide receiver on the planet during the course of his NFL career. He might be up there already. Like, he's that good. He is that good. Like, you need to put him in the Chase Jefferson, like, category of CD, right, of real life wide receiver. He's that good. When you reach that level, I don't really think the offense matters that much. He did it last year with Drew Lock. He won people best ball tournaments last year with Drew Lock at quarterback, and it wasn't because Drew Lock was dropping dimes. He took a screen and a hitch and just made a bunch of dudes miss and took them to the house. He put Drew Lock and the Giants on his back in Week 17 last year, and he was awesome all season. The flip side is, what if the Giants aren't that bad on offense? They're not going to be the best offense in the league, but once upon a time, we thought Brian Daboll was a pretty smart offensive mind, and Russell Wilson was supposedly the upgrade for the Steelers to help make them a little bit better. And I think we've actually swung too far on Russ. As a very anti-Russ guy, I think the belief that Russ isn't going to make this offense better, it's probably a little bit of an overreaction. And like the Giants stink is just all over everything. And I get that part of it for sure. Yeah. Neighbors might see 190 targets with Russ. Yeah. One of my favorite, I love training camp season because the beats put out so much funny stuff. Most of it, is silly. But of course, we get some actionable stuff mixed in. And one of the Giants beats, I don't remember if it was Jordan Renan or whoever, I'll post it in one of the first few camp, like joking, but saying, okay, hold on. I wonder where's let's do. I'm really trying to get my Eagles bags. Eagles offense, passing game specific is another big stand I'm trying to take here. So let's see if this fails. If these folks here play nice. The 101 to the 103, if they play nice here with me, with the wide receiver I need. If not, Dallas Goedert, come on down. Also much different for wide receivers than running backs, says Nolan. Adams, Neighbors, Lamb, Evans almost every year. DJ Moore every year, but also like Panthers DJ Moore, right? Just being a star on a bad offense. There's definitely agree with the wide receiver versus the running back stuff. Daniel says not going to be a lot of Neighbors, but God damn it, there goes Devontae. That's what we tried to set up. We tried to set up Hurts, Devontae. Oh well. Maybe we'll do. Should we do Hunter? Let's do Travis Hunter then. Is he gone? Oh fuck! Somebody took him. Guys, more Zay Flowers, I guess. Yeah, let's do more. Let's do Zay again. I just can't. Karane came out with a new, Legendary Upside came out with a new article about mid-round wide receiver breakouts, and I know Karane is huge on Zay Flowers, as am I, and so it's hard. I'm fired up about Zay Flowers this morning, especially after reading that. So drafting a couple more Zay Flowers teams works. Don't see a path for him being a top 3 to 5 wide receiver. I can see that for guys like BTJ, AJB, or Puka. Yeah, I mean, I just don't agree with that. Neighbors is already like a top wide receiver on the planet. He was a top wide receiver in fantasy last year. I think the offensive upgrade feels better for the late round guys. I think offensive upgrades are best for the best players on an offense. When the whole they're building the plane out of Neighbors, and as I was saying before I came back to me on the clock, one of the Giants beats was like basically every target from Russ was going to Neighbors. It was either throw it to Neighbors or they doubled or triple teamed him, and let's check then check it down to Tyrone Tracy. And he was basically saying, I think Neighbors is going to have like 270 targets this year. I think he's that good. I think he's going to get that much volume. I think the floor is so insanely high. And so even if he doesn't finish as the 4th best wide receiver, like he's going to have such big spikes and probably with a nice floor, given the target volume that he's going to get. Like, I think Neighbors is kind of slam dunky, though I really do like Puka. I'm a big fan of all the first round wide receivers. I got no pushback on Puka Nacua, though, as I mentioned, I'm kind of waiting to see what happened. Where did Puka go in this draft? Still 10th. I think it just happened this morning. The Matthew Stafford kind of sort of weird injury update as that information, now we go get Ibuka at a very nice price of 69th overall. But I think Puka might fall a little bit, and we'll get more frequent, like 1-2 turn. I mean, 10th already. I have him ranked higher than 10th. I'm not currently concerned about Puka Nacua, but I am currently monitoring like what kind of price dip we get on him. Yeah, Neighbors smash. Think about the ecosystem that Malik Neighbors was in. Andrew Thomas got hurt also, left tackle. So the offensive line collapsed. Daniel Jones was the worst version of Daniel Jones that we've seen, which is saying something. Tommy DeVito came in and was an absolute disaster. And then he had to play with Drew Lock behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league. I mean, I honestly can't believe he did what he did last year. It reminds me of like CD succeeding last season was just like a huge feather in his cap. I really have 50% digs with this start. Oh, I have a couple Neighbors Bowers teams, and they have digs. That's okay. I'm down. I'm down for digs. Build out another zero running back room here. We'll show the folks how to really do zero running back in the year of our Lord, 2025. JMO going to do a lot of taking crossing routes to the house. Load up before it's too late. I do like JMO this year as well. Let's see. I'm thinking about this some more. And I kind of wonder if these two don't go together. Mincash Merchant asked about Anthony Richardson in that range. And then Travis asked about like who is I love this question, by the way, because we often do in fantasy, like who's this year's Kyron, who's this year's Puka, who's this year's Bucky, and we're chasing our tail. The answer is there isn't. But I understand why we do that. We're talking about who's like this year's late round sleeper breakout player. Who is this year's like undervalued offense that far exceeds expectations? Just happens every year. Look back every single season, there's some kind of undervalued offense. Now it comes in, it happened to be with these two, like a quarterback, Geno and Baker, that we'd kind of given up on, goes to the situation and everybody's like, yeah, ugh. The Seahawks have Geno. They just lost Russ and they got Geno. Turns out Geno was better than Russ. The Bucks lost Tom Brady and go to Baker Mayfield. We're like, oh God, this is going to be a disaster. So, we don't necessarily have that, but I do wonder if the Colt, like if Anthony Richardson improves, which everybody has decided Anthony Richardson just can never improve. And maybe he won't. Accuracy is a little bit of a tricky thing to continue to improve upon, though. Josh Allen did it. Lamar did it. Frankly, Mahomes even did it. Jalen Hurts did it. You know, a lot of these guys were not that good of passers. Mahomes was, obviously. But those other guys were not very good passers when they were young either. Anthony Richardson is 22 years old. He's barely played NFL football games. Should we build out the Giant, do another Tyrone Tracy, build out this Giants thing? Let's do that. I do really like Tracy as kind of a quasi, it's a zero running back team when you start it with Tracy in the backfield, but he's closer to a Hawkeye. If you're new around here, we coined the term the Hawkeye of a hero running back, but the hero is like kind of weak. It's not really a zero running back team. It's not really like you didn't take Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. You didn't take Jonathan Taylor as your hero running back. It's not like a real hero. It's not the fucking Hulk, right? Or Thor. Those guys are Hulk and Thor. It's a weaker hero, which is like Hawkeye. He doesn't even have any real powers, but he is technically an Avenger. So the Hawkeye, but Tyrone Tracy feels like that. Like, I understand Scadaboo is still there. Singletary is still there. Tyrone Tracy took over that backfield last year. And by all indications so far, is still leading that backfield right now. We don't know what's going to, like when Scadaboo is going to be back from his, I believe, hamstring injury. So it's difficult for a rookie to take a backfield when they're not practicing all during, the most formative times on the calendar. I'm gonna put Shaheed in there because I don't love. Let's do Shaheed. I need to get a little bit more Shaheed as well. I also like doing a little bit more Shaheed on like some of these zero running back type teams. I didn't want to take another tight end because I got Jalen Hurts unstacked, and I would like to get Dallas Goedert as my stacking partner on that. I know the question. Can't you just take Jalen Hurts unstacked or naked? Yes, you can. But it's even for the runners, I still prefer, right? When they have their big games, they still do throw. Like Jalen Hurts can have some push touchdowns and be very good, but in like the nuclear ceiling games, he is still passing. And I think part of my bet on the Eagles passing game this year is that they pass more in 2025 than they did in 2024, which would mean that the other, the receiving options are undervalued. Delu says Titans as one of them. That definitely makes sense. I am not as big of a Cam Ward guy as everybody else is. I don't think so. It's hard for me to envision the Titans being that, but I do think it makes sense. Trying to think. Oh my God. Kellen Moore and the Saints. This is the best bet for the one that no one is going to, when somebody asks you who's this year's Geno Seahawks, Baker Bucks, no one will answer the Saints because no one believes in, Tyler Shuck is having a disastrous camp from every Saints beat writer and does not look like at this rate he's going to have with the week one job. It does appear that Spencer Rattler is leading that race right now, and no one believes in Spencer Rattler, and neither do I. But Kellen Moore has been okay as an offensive mind. Once upon a time, we were foaming at the mouth for Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator and future head coach. Alvin Kamara is still a quality football player, and Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are very good football players. If Spencer Rattler is good, dare I say, like I can't fathom Spencer Rattler being good enough to make them that offense. But what if Spencer Rattler is good? I also have Drake May on that on one of these other Neighbors Bowers teams that I have, but nonetheless, that's okay. I still like Drake May here. So we closed out quarterback with Hurts and May. Set for our tight end here, assuming none of these assholes at the turn here. We're on a run of tight ends, so that's a little bit terrifying. Maybe I should have taken my guy first. We'll find out. We'll find out if everybody plays nice and stays in their lanes, but I'm a little bit terrified of it. There goes Dak. Kim Ward has as much, if not more, desire to be great than anyone in the league. He puts in the work every day, and all he cares about is football and winning. There's nothing not to like. Well, there's plenty of things not to like. That's fine. Everybody wants to win. About a player with that mindset. Yeah, I respect the mindset for sure. That's not how I think about players, though. I'm pretty sure they all want to be very good, and Cam can want to be like I wanted to be a professional basketball player. Didn't happen. Ended up playing football, actually. I wanted to play in the NFL. I worked very hard. I had a great mindset. Didn't mean I was the best college safety in the planet. Didn't mean, it doesn't mean you're going to be good. It's good. It's great that he puts in Kobe Love. That's fine. Like that's great. He can put in all the work he wants. I respect him. I'm not saying I don't respect him. I'm not saying I'm not rooting for him. I'm not saying whatever. He just wasn't that good of a prospect. Like he works hard. That's great. He brings his lunch pail in every day. He's the first guy in and he's the last guy out. And the coaches would let him marry their daughters, and all the cliches are great. All I care about is the football field type stuff. And I'm not that big of a fan of his profile as a football player. And he's the number one overall pick. Yeah, in the worst, he would not normally have been the number one overall pick. He 1 year before, he would have been like the QB5 in that draft. So I think we found Ward's burner account. Yeah, exactly. This is I'm not saying anything about like Cam Ward as a player. Hope it works out great. I don't live far from Nashville. I could go, if he's awesome, I could go to games and watch him play. I got a lot of good friends in Nashville. I would love for him to be great and for the Titans to be great. But I'm just not that big of a fan. Also, even if Cam Ward is great, is the talent on the Titans offense that good? Calvin Ridley's wide receiver 1. Alec Iomanor, 4th round rookie, Chimere DK, the corpse of Tyler Lockett, Traylon Burks is gone, Van Jefferson, Chig Okonkwo, Gunnar Helm. That's the offense. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. The Saints skill players are better than the Titans skill players. So I got no problem with Cam Ward. I draft some Cam Ward. But, oh, hello. Ray Davis. I love it. Ray Davis, little bring back to our Eagle stack. And that was a nice exposure gap I had there with some of these guys, for sure. Calvin Ridley breakout year. Yeah, exactly. Year 10 or whatever. How old is Calvin Ridley? Like 30, 31? I think Calvin Ridley is the guy that everybody thinks is much younger than he is. Maybe not anymore. I think maybe we finally come to our realization. But for years now, Calvin Ridley has been the guy I think that the world, like we, not you guys, not like our, best ball cabal, whatever folks are calling it. But I think the world has thought like, oh yeah, it's Calvin Ridley, right? Like when he was with the Falcons after Julio left, he went at the 1-2 turn. And I think people thought he was like 26 or 27 or something at the time when that happened. I think Ridley in their running game is solid. Any other rookie wide receivers could pop for sure, but that's the case for everybody. And Ridley is solid for like a wide receiver 2. I don't think Ridley is somebody you want to focus your entire passing game around. Trey Benson gives us a little Cardinals secondary stack here. So let's do that. Trey Benson and Marv. I also like the Cardinals adding Trey Benson in on some Cardinals stuff, whether you have Kyler, like I don't care about Kyler as part of this conversation, but you draft either Marv or Trey McBride. Notably, they get the Bengals in week 17, which not to do the thing that I make fun of all the time in predicting defenses, but the Bengals defense is going to suck ass. It just is. So having Cardinals on teams, I think, is just a good thing. Ridley is 6 months older than James Conner. Think about that. Ridley missed. It's good. Sizzle says Ridley missed that year because of the gambling. Yeah, like we lost a year, but we don't remember it, right? We don't account for that because he just disappeared from our lives. Oh, 2 mules. Antonio Gates going into the Hall of Fame this year is assigned to keep on taking the next Antonio Gates at a high rate. Isaiah Likely says 2 mules. I like Likely. Somebody asked about buying the. Hold on. Before we got into the Cam Ward stuff, Ben asks, "Are you buying the Isaiah Likely dip?" Somewhat. He falls really far in some rooms, and I like to scoop there. I had quite a bit of Isaiah Likely, and this is a fair point from Sizzle. Andrews. If Likely's dipping, Andrews should be rising, and Andrews isn't rising that much. So I do think it's again a little bit format specific in Best Ball Mania, in the DraftKings Millie, those kinds of things. I'm still definitely interested in Isaiah Likely. The case hasn't changed that much, though. There's always just a small. Anytime a guy's hurt going into the season, there's always an extra added element of risk. Because you just never know. When you're already hurt, it's more likely for you to continue to be hurt or get hurt again than the healthy person. So it's just something I'm essentially monitoring with Isaiah Likely, and on certain teams when he makes a ton of sense. Right at this pick 159, like you see here. So I still have 11% of Isaiah Likely, and if you see on your screen, and so I'm like still sort of taking him, but I've already had a pretty hefty bag of likely there. Shall we go pull up our guy again here? Go get your guys season. It's another important thing I think to talk about amidst the conversation about preseason and all that kind of stuff. The overarching thought for me at this point in time is, if you want some of these guys after, right, we're talking around 14, 15, 16. I don't think the ADP is ever efficient back here, but right now the ADP is not efficient. If you have guys you want in the late rounds, go get them. If you're trying to, you don't get enough, if you don't get them in this draft, right? Let's say I have 50 drafts left, 55, maybe something like that in BBM. That's only 50 opportunities to get these players. And they also may rise, that we just talked about from the preseason. I don't have another chance to get them onto teams. Whether I get them in the 17th round or the 16th round does not matter. The ADP value doesn't matter at that price. Getting them onto your teams so you can actually make money if they're hits matters. That's the most important thing for me right now, is getting these guys that I believe in later rounds onto teams. A lot of running backs for me. Let's do Woody. Don't really have Woody on some of these teams because he's a recent guy I've been trying. I was taking a little bit of Woody at the very beginning of the summer and then backed off, of course. And now we're back in on the Woody Marks train. Fun fact, that year, week 1, had Ridley, DK Metcalf stacked in 50% of lineups. Miles Sanders made sure the cashes were minimal. Miles Sanders. Eagles, Miles Sanders. Ben says, likely with an elite tight end always feels good to me. I totally agree. Fully support the Isaiah Likely with an elite tight end at this point in time. At these cheap prices, you don't need him. You don't need Isaiah Likely for the first few weeks of the season anyway. Who gives a shit? Allen going at 134 sometime sooner. What's your take on that? How much do you think it will impact Harris? Oh, Keenan. Oh man, yeah. Forgot that we haven't even discussed the Keenan stuff. I mean, it definitely impacts Trey Harris. It impacts all of those guys. They just have another body. It's really murky now. I don't think it matters for Ladd. People asking about Ladd McConkey. I don't think it matters for Ladd. I think Ladd is the clear best wide receiver on this team. If the offense is better, cool. Ladd can play outside. Ladd can move around. It's totally fine. But it makes things very murky for, it hurts Trey. It hurts QJ. It hurts KLS. There's just a veteran that this team clearly trusts. They're clearly trying to win now with the veteran acquisitions. They tried Mike Williams and that failed. So they went back to the old Charger well with Keenan Allen. And, it very much murks things up. Like I don't have a mega strong take. I do have a take that I'm going to go get Keaton again here. Got 20. I'm up to 20% Keaton, and we're going to try to keep that rising here. Now the question is, do I close my running back room? Do I close out my running back room? Because I definitely need 7 running backs on this team. Tyrone Tracy, Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Will Shipley, Woody Marks, and Keaton Mitchell. Or take one of my priority rookie wide receivers here to close out my, Jesus. Saucy Steph takes Horton at 191. So that stinks. Yeesh. Is Royals gone too? Probably. I'm sure one of these guys is going to take Royals now. Gesicki, another faller at tight end. I like this. Noah Fant is like the shittiest version of fetch you've ever seen. Fantasy bros just love trying to make Noah Fant a thing. And the best part about Noah Fant as it relates to Mike Gesicki is they don't play the same position in real football. It's crazy. think we'll do running back. Good question from Ben. Now that we have an Addison suspension, when do we see the Rice suspension? I would suspect pretty soon. Now, speaking of go get your guys season, I'm going to go get Kyle Manungai. He's been a priority for me as well here. So we closed out the running back room. We'll take one wide receiver in the 18th round. But quickly to recap, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Marvin Harrison Jr. We pulled Neighbors up to the 104 for the audio folks, in case you didn't notice that. Bowers falls to 21. Sweet Marv at 28. Took Jalen Hurts, hoping to get Devontae Smith in the 5th round. Obviously, Devontae did not get there, so we just took Zay Flowers. Then we took Emeka Buka and Stephon Diggs. This wide receiver room rocks. Tyrone Tracy as our even weaker version of Hawkeye running back here. But I mentioned earlier how I do very much like Tyrone Tracy as kind of the lead in a zero running back room right now. Rashid Shaheed, a wide receiver I'm trying to get my exposure up to a little bit. Drake May, of course, stacked with Stephon Diggs, Dallas Goedert to give me the Jalen Hurts stack since I missed out on Devontae Smith. Then we hammered running back in a zero running back room that I quite love. Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Will Shipley, Woody Marks. So kind of a nice combination, right? Tracy, Benson's probably going to play some to start the season. So is Woody. So I'm getting something. Ray Davis also notably, by the way, James Cook not practicing right now because he's holding out, something to monitor. I don't imagine it's going to be a big deal, but you never know. It doesn't sound like the Bills are going to give Cook an extension, or at least not the extension that he wants. I think Ray Davis, could be a riser as well. And then to Keaton Mitchell and Kyle Manungai, two guys who I think, to the theme of this show, as well as Woody, could all be very serious risers after this weekend's preseason games, assuming they play, and already are frankly rising quite a bit. Is there an actual deadline on suspensions being issued before the season? No, the NFL does whatever the fuck the NFL wants to do. Oh, baby, Royals falls all the way back. Oh my God, what a dream. This team rocks. These two teams rock. I've won Best Ball Mania. Don't worry about it, guys. We've already taken care of Best Ball Mania. These two teams, double elite tight end, and this one fell together very, 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 very well. Quick reminder before we get out of here. If you leave a comment on one of our videos from this week, so we had a show last night. I put out a video Monday. It's going to be a show every single week, essentially. If you comment on today's video or one of the last 2 days, or you comment on tomorrow's video, which will be back, of course, at 10 a.m. Eastern again tomorrow, you will be entered to win on Friday. On Friday, we give away 3 tickets to the Drafters main event. If you did not get your tickets from last week, please reach out to me, preferably on Discord. I'll make sure that you got those tickets from last week. And every Friday here moving forward, you do not have to be present to win. I want everybody to get a chance, even folks that cannot listen or watch live. And at the end of the show, so we'll do a few drafts on Friday morning, and then we'll give away those free tickets. And all you have to do to enter is comment on one of the videos. Each video you comment on gets you another entry into the giveaway. Yeah, and check out, we got DFS content, we got sports betting content. We're expanding this year here at Spike Week. It's going to be a lot of fun during this season, not just sweating best ball teams, but sweating everything with you guys. I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and of course, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. We got a fun new video coming out this afternoon. Myself, Rob, and B. Kurt hopped into a DraftKings 555 slow draft, and we talked through our first round selection. That video will be coming out a little bit later today, but I'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. It's almost here. Season's almost here. Preseason's getting rolling. It's best ball time. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.